There we go. It is going. So, hello and welcome to the Beer Ladies podcast. This is our first episode of 2021. So, welcome back. Hopefully this is a good new year. We'll see how this goes, but whether you're a brand new listener, welcome, or you started this journey with us last year, welcome again. We're very excited to have you. And because it is January, because it is the first episode of the year, we will be talking about, first of all, cheap beers, and we'll be talking about hangover cures. So we'll dive into what some of those things might be in a little bit. But first of all, I am your host, Lisa. Don't forget to like, subscribe. We're in all the places you get your podcasts, and we're so excited to have you here. But I will turn over before we begin to my lovely co-host today. So maybe, Joanne, do you want to introduce yourself second?
Hey, I'm Joanne, and I'm here. Sorry. Well, good to be back. I missed recording these actually. It's been great fun doing this last year. We've had really good crack. It's just nice fun, kind of relaxed recording stuff we do.
Absolutely.
Will I tell you what I'm drinking? Or?
We'll do what are we drinking in a second, but I think first, Bean, too, you can go ahead and give a little hello.
Oh, hi guys. It's good to be back and see your faces after Christmas and hear your voices most of all.
Here. And for those outside of Ireland, we've had a long lockdown Christmas, lockdown holidays, all for the good though. I think we're excited too. We're also having a bit of a mini celebration today because Joanne, you got your first COVID vaccine today.
I did, yeah.
Woot!
Yes.
Very exciting. I've never been so excited to get a vaccination, I have to say. I got the phone call about 1 o'clock, asked me if I was interested, and I was like, absolutely. I was hoping that it would be a nice time before we recorded this as well, which it wasn't, so it was 2 hours ago this day. So all good so far. Brilliant. Yeah, feeling good.
Yeah, kind of let out a bit of a sigh, hey?
Oh yeah.
Very much so. So I think that is a perfect segue to celebrate. We're all having a little drink as per usual, but let's go around with what are we drinking? Bean, we'll start with you this time.
Well, I would love to begin. I'll tell you, there's going to be a backstory that will unfold, but I eventually settled on a White Hag Brandon Scollin, which is an Irish IPA. It's 7.2 alcohol by volume in a 330 ml. It has lots of flavor, and it came in a beer club pack. So we decided that was going to be part of a large part of the beer budget for the year was the subscription. So yeah, I have a backup, bunch of the packs, so I didn't have to buy anything particularly new. Yeah,
we'll get into that too. I also have a story to tell about some of those subscription boxes you get from time to time and the things you don't quite get to, but we'll get to that. And how about you, Joanne?
I went to Lidl to try to see what they had. I got this crafty brown ale, which I haven't tried. And for those who don't know, Lidl, these I believe these are brewed just for Lidl, aren't they?
I believe so.
Yeah, they are. I haven't seen.
Maybe like by Rye River or somebody.
Yes, it is actually. Yeah, yes. It is Rye River. Yeah. So I've only tried 1 or 2 of the crafty so far. They've been fine.
I think I've tried a few and they've been fine. Yeah. But this is back in the distant past, so I don't recall particularly which one I would have had. But it was,
like dark.
That's a nice dark color.
It's definitely dark brown. It's not. It looks on the camera. It looks more stacey, but yeah.
Oh, it's a lovely color. Wonderful. And I have the Journeyman Session Ipa. So this is, I guess, let's see, who is officially the brewer? Because I know that Pierce Lyons owns them now. They used to be a sort of more independent brewery, is my understanding, from, let's see. No, see, I'm getting old. I can barely see it. Station Works
I feel
Brewery.
Your pain.
Yes, Station Works Brewery, but Pierce Lyons owns them now. So I think certainly people abroad too may be more familiar with Pierce Lyons, certainly for their distillery, but also they have quite a number of beer brands in Kentucky where they did a lot of sort of horsey related things too, among other things. So it's I got this at my local Centra, went all out, walked up the street to see what could I get for a tenner, and it's always a bit of a mix. You don't know what they're going to have there, but I kind of suspect that this bottle may have been there for a very long time. So I don't want to judge the beer too much based on that. I did notice when I popped the top, it had a little bit of a sort of stale homebrewy smell. Again, probably not beer's fault. So we'll see how we get on though. So I'll give it a try.
Yeah, I know. I kind of had passed over a few things. Like I decided I couldn't be bothered with the couple of free bottles of Carlsberg that came with a takeaway. And I had actually, take a tenner and make it work. I had previously fallen into the bit of a trap where like there's four cans like in a large retail big box supermarket, and they're discounted, and it's a brand I know and love and I've had in the pub and I've had in my local and I know I love it. So I merrily take this 4-pack of cans home for a rockin' discount, and promptly discovered that, of course, the cans are very tired. Like they have been on
Oh,
pallets in the back in amphora for centuries. And
right.
actually at this stage, like I had cracked one. I'm like, oh
Oh,
yeah, good good brand, good ale, good beer. And it was so just tired, just
Yeah.
yeah.
kind of beleaguered and boring. And so yeah, now it's relegated to like if the water shuts off or I need some beer batter
We'll
for
leave it.
some fish and chips at home one night. So
We did that well, no, not recently, a couple of years ago, but it actually turned out really well. It was a Trouble Brewing porter. I think I may have told this story here actually.
but please tell it again
We
because
got
it
Yes.
was the
I
right
think we
place,
got
right
the
time.
Dark Arts porter bottles. I think they were €2 or something.
Mm.
So we cleared out that shelf, and they were really good. And we had them for over a year, I'd say, and they just got better.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well,
It
it's
was
such a good beer, so solid. So I can see that one would just keep improving.
Serendipity. And that was in
Absolutely.
bottles, right?
Yeah, but they probably store better in bottles, I imagine. Anyway, can't they? Really.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. And there were some deals to be found. I didn't bother picking them up, but I was at one of my local fancier off licenses, trying not to stock up too much because we are moving house in a couple weeks. Hence the big mess behind us. For those who are watching on YouTube, you're like, wow, that's bad. No, we're moving. It's not our fault. But so we're trying to get through some of the stock. But I did see a lot of really, really good Christmas beers, incredibly cheap at the off license in question, where they still had the Sierra Nevada Celebration, still a shiny new one. I want to say maybe like 350, which for that was great. Even some of the Sierra Nevada barley wine too. That now that one did look like it had been there a while. A very dusty bottle, but again, that one would hold up. So I wasn't too worried about that. It was tempting, but I thought, oh, I don't want to make the movers move all these, big
Moving,
chunky
yeah.
bottles.
Oh.
So yeah, but and I will tell the story of that. We had some cans that had come in a sort of subscription box that we knew were probably not going to be
The
good. But
freshest.
yeah, but it was a thing. Well, I don't know that it was, but in this case, they weren't too fresh, but they just weren't good. So
Mm,
so, it was
mm.
interesting. But I'll get to it because I think Bean, you've got probably a good subscription box story. You did a nice setup. So
Yeah, well,
yeah.
you know, we hemmed and hawed, and we got the subscription box, and so I feel like White Hag are treating us, well. There's like a fresh thing. I think they've changed the way that they're brewing more often, so they have to do
Hmm.
more labeling by the batch for their, what's the date on this and what's the date on that. But they're doing a smash
Oh,
series,
okay.
so a single hop, a single malt, and it's fun for the beer drinker in training because you can sort of sample the hops as they uh, you know dry hop them the last, get the most kind of fresh oils and fruity notes out of them, and kind of less as they start to really like boil them, so you get a little of their base bitterness too, so you get to really try a hop as though you
Oh, that's
had
nice.
been just trying it. And then you get their base beer selection and kind of the porter of the month, or whatever they're adding to it, if it be mint or
Oh, right.
chili or whatever. So it's nice. And in COVID times, it just arrives at your door,
Yes.
which is an unlooked for happy surprise as well. So, yeah.
Yes,
And it
absolutely.
also means you've got yourself queued up with a ninth wave for in case you lose the run of yourself on the first one because it's 7.2%. So half of the budgeting is budgeting for when you go overboard.
Ah, fair. Fair.
But
Yeah, no,
yeah,
I did have something sort of similar happen. I bought, and this was not part of my budget exercise, but this was part of my, oh, there's some things I want to get before we move. But I'm sure we won't get to all of these. But again, for as the token American here, a lot of things happened in the past week that made me kind of power through my stock. So I was just like, oh, I'm glad I ordered that extra box of beer from Whiplash. It was all, at least I had something good to go with the sort of, oh, this is happening now. But, uh, but I will say, that's the wonderful thing about, the Irish breweries here is they get the stuff to your door. Both the breweries and the subscription boxes, the various services, your craft centrals, and it arrives at your door. You don't have to worry about it, and that has been just wonderful during this whole thing. And I know they're trying to put new limits on how much alcohol is how much you can buy or how late you can buy it. I keep
yeah,
getting
and you
lost
can't
where
use
the
your
current thing is.
coupons so much
Right.
anymore. Ah.
Yeah.
Do you want to give out, Joanne? You're
Right.
smiling.
No. I don't know. I'm not convinced that it's the way to go. It's not good. People are just gonna.
Yeah,
People are still gonna
people
go.
are gonna do
Yeah.
what they're gonna
Not
do.
going to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, exactly. What was it? Something like they broke up a party of like 100 people in a
Oh,
shed in
yeah.
Cork or something like that. And I'm like, that's not because they couldn't get to their off license at
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever
Exactly.
time.
Exactly.
That's this is like you said, they were going to do this anyway. This wasn't like, oh, they had a couple beers and started getting too close to one another. No, this was.
Yeah. It's like when the off licensees close the pubs on Good Friday, like
Oh,
the day before, everybody's just going out. So it's just best to just keep it as it is, spread out, and people will go in as they will, less
yeah.
crowds and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, all the pubs by me at the moment who've been doing takeaway pints, they've been so careful. They've got really good social distancing set up. It's been very, very sort of responsible and adult. You don't have people in big crowds or anything. It's just one in, one out. Take everything home. And there's been sure like the odd sort of one or two, people drinking over by the park or something. But even there, they've been, probably people from the same household, and they're not they're not going mad having a big party or anything. They're just literally sitting there with a pint. It's not been, madness. So we'll see how we get on, I guess, over the next couple of weeks. But hopefully, more of us will start to get our vaccines too, and we'll eventually start to
Absolutely.
power through. But I don't know.
Oh,
So
good.
let's see. Giving this
Yeah,
another.
it's all about that timing. Like
Yeah.
like you were saying, Lisa, with the um seeing things from Christmas discounted on the shelves. It's sort of like buying
Ah,
chocolate after
right.
Christmas or Valentine's or Easter. Like you let sort of the rush happen and the flow through happen, and then you see what you can go and pick up on sale.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
because there's like the two aspects of timing, right? Like some of it is watching the product move
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
maybe being like Joanne in the right place at the right time and knowing that like kind of part two, the product itself, like the timing on the product, like you were buying a porter and that was going to age really nicely, or maybe you'd be fine with a barley wine or saison or something. But then it's nice to know finally, for me at least, that hops, like the fresh notes of the hops won't last, so maybe
Yeah.
you're better, like you were talking about earlier, maybe avoiding the double hopped IPA because that's gonna deteriorate over time more quickly.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, and I'll circle back to this box we got. We got a series of beers that they had been collaboration beers, so they were all a little bit of an unknown quantity anyway. But we tried to go through them, kind of using that as a guide, sort of having the hoppy ones first, since we figured they probably needed the most, to get a good view of them. They had to be fresh. We'll go through them, and many of them were pretty good. There were I have to say, a lot of very peculiar sours that some of which were very good, and then others I'm like, oh, you tried. That's nice.
I like
Um,
sours.
I like a
Did
good
sours
sour.
not actually last a little bit longer than the
I
hoppiest
feel like
of
these
the
should have,
pale ales?
but
Oh
for
no,
whatever
okay.
reason, well,
Ah,
and again, some of them were actually really good, but there
maybe
were a
it's a canning
couple.
thing.
It could have been a canning thing, but I think there were a couple that were just a little bit too maybe over ambitious in what they were trying to achieve. I think one advertised itself as an imperial fruited ice sour, so just a lot to unpack there,
A
and
lot of names.
a
That would
lot of names.
almost serve me right now. I'm totally getting ahead of myself. I'm like, well, now I've heard of alpha something acids. Mm.
Well, and and then we did sort of open it, let it breathe for a little bit, and was like, nope, still tastes like
Mm.
Ribena that's gone off. Nope,
Oh,
no. So, and again, I'm glad people are trying things. It was nothing from one of our kind of usual suspects, but again, since we are moving house, this was one of the like, we're gonna open these cans. We don't want to, you know, again, pay someone money to move them, and we managed to get through, I think, 4 cans last night, where we were like, open it up. Nope. And so at least we tried and didn't have to move them. But again, it's when you get one of these sort of experimental boxes, you don't know what percentage is going to be really great, and then oh, pretty good, and then not today, guys. But again,
mm.
it was good. They tried, and I think especially you have to give people props for trying to do collaborations in a time like this, where I'm sure they're having to do a lot of it remotely, or wouldn't have the sort of freedom, I guess, to do the real like hands-on experimentation. They might kind of what you're getting might be the first attempt at this case. So again, fair play for trying, and hopefully maybe by next summer we'll be able to have some of these things a little more locked in. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So, like, if you value, for example, say you get 24 cans for 60 quid, do you, does it give you more pleasure to have the 7.2 alcohol by volume or the 4.2 sessionable? So you may choose to get more like units of enjoyment per
Is that what
euro.
we're calling alcohol?
Well, in my defense, though, it's hard for everybody to be whiplash and to
Agreed.
get amazing flavor through their mash filter and have the alcohol be really down, because sometimes not at like 12%, but at the kind of 5 and maybe 6%, it might be the case that there's more like ingredients and more flavor
Mhm.
in a can, because there's the alcohol is a byproduct of the fermentation, and the sugars and the ingredients are all kind of settling in, so you're like more concentrated flavor and also buzz.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And again, I did.
Yeah, no buzz. We're just going for, yeah.
Hey, it's a weekend. We've all not been outside, and it is very cold too. As we're recording this, I think it's worth saying. So those
Yeah, it is
stronger
cold.
beers might be, medicinal, keep you warm.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
freezing in my kitchen. I am
Absolutely.
saving the beer budget by spending less on heat.
I know. I always used to tend to, if I was going for those, 3 for 10, 4 for 10, I would always tend to go for the higher ABV. I've kind of gone away from that now because, you don't
Yeah.
always enjoy, if you drink too many strong ones, and you don't enjoy the rest, so there's no,
Exactly.
Yeah, you need to sort of pace yourself and finish the night on a.
yeah. It's taken me like, 38, 39 years to figure that out. But,
I
but not
know,
that I've
and
been
we're all
drinking
still
that long
learning.
way. That sounds bad, doesn't it?
No, it's all good. Well, and especially I think if even certainly a lot of people are doing a dry January, and all good, but even if you're just doing a sort of dialed back January, it's good to have a variety of different things, whether it's a lot of lower ABV things or just one or two sort of stronger things. It's nice to have a little bit of a selection to choose from, and I think again, sort of circling back to how you can make that kind of cost effective. I think you're never going to get like the best selection for under a tenner, but you can actually do a pretty decent job of
Yeah.
at least with a lot of the good off licenses. Like you can go to like a Martin's or something, and you can get great stuff. Like you might not get 3 or 4 for a tenner, but you can get like two and a half, we'll say, really nice things, and still make it a a good evening.
Yeah. I'm waiting for somebody to say, go to the Polish shops or the Hungarian
Yes.
store or the, whatever Eastern European, like good Pilsners and like clear lagery type things, usually like
Yeah.
a decent everyday table beer, kind of refreshing, that kind of stuff. I've been waiting for somebody to be like, here's our best trick.
Oh,
And actually,
absolutely.
I have to say my nearest Polish shop is good for pickles and pastries and deli things as
Oh,
well.
that is good. Yeah, we definitely, I think, again, after we move, I'll stop talking about it. But after we move, we'll have a lot more
No,
variety in
sounds
that.
great.
I will in that area. Like where we are now is too bougie to have anything like that, even though it would be incredibly useful. But so that'll actually be really nice because I know my poor husband is desperate for good pickles, so that would be, that would certainly be nice to have that. And where we are moving is certainly going to have a bigger variety of kind of more. There'll be Polish shops, there'll be sort of halal butchers, there'll be much more cosmopolitan, if you like, in some way. But that will be really helpful to be able to go into some of those. It's kind of the more air quotes ethnic shops, but you just get, you can get much more interesting stuff than at your, fancy Avoca in a lot of ways. So,
Well, I'll tell you what else is a tenor is a growler of
oh,
the finest
Mm.
uh, whatever is on tap at perhaps your local being able to click and collect a takeaway still. And
yeah, that's a good point. Often, even with the deposit, it's even if you don't have one to bring in, it's not bad at all. It's usually I think €3 or €4 for the deposit, and then yeah, fill it up. And there's some really good stuff. I went to Underdog just around Christmas or just after Christmas and got of course I was like, oh, I'll get an extra one while I'm here, so I brought in one to refill and then got another as well. But it definitely worth the money, and it got me out of the house safely to go for a walk and come back home. So absolutely.
I'm
someday,
enjoying this brown ale. Is good. It's really nice. It's really nice and malty, and it actually I saw that it is a World Beer Award winner.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
I've
really
been
nice.
very happy with everything I've had from Rye River, whether it's their own brand or
Yeah.
through Lidl or that kind of thing. And I do love a really good brown ale. The Ballykilcavan one is wonderful. I had the Loch Gill one last night because I there must be something about this time of year. I just like have been really craving the brown ale where it's not too heavy, not too light, but it's just right and
Yeah.
makes you feel like it's like a nice warm sweater and just lovely.
It reminds me of being in a pub with a fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah, just that
The pub.
dark brown,
Yeah.
wonderful syrupy. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be syrupy, but like more syrupy than water, liquid in a glass.
Yeah, and it's just such an accessible go-to and accessible in
Mm.
a like I think high compliment. I have a bunch of Baltic porters that I've been kind of sitting on, and I love them, but I have to be in the mood for them too. Whereas the brown ale, I can always just
Yeah.
go for. The Baltic porter, I've got to kind of be like, is it an occasion? Am I working my way up to something? But again, I think we have 3 more that we have to drink before so in order to pack them. So over the next couple weeks, probably we'll just try one and see if it's any good. Although I did also get the Whiplash one, but I feel like that I know will be good. So I'll get to that sooner. The other ones are kind of an unknown quantity. So we'll and I think too some of them got a little more extreme than others. I want to say the Whiplash one is maybe like 7%, 7.5, something like that, and these others are like 10, 11, and I kind of need an occasion, and it's hard to have an occasion at the moment. So
What
Yeah.
makes a Baltic porter? Like, is there a
well, it's a good question. Back in the day, they would have had to. Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember now from when I actually took the BJCP exam because there's. And now I'm realizing in my head I'm conflating with like Russian Imperial Stout. I'm like, nope, different. Hang on. All right, I'm gonna look up to make sure I can remember what is what, so I don't go around telling lies. Lies.
Not that.
It's a term
You
I've
know,
only noticed hearing lately, like the last couple of months, I think.
Right. Oh
I
no, that
remember.
was it. Yeah, because it's it's got that it's brewed with lager yeast. I was going to say that, but I needed to double check to make sure that I had actually remembered that correctly. I remember like putting it on the BJCP exam years ago,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's definitely like it's it's essentially brewed like a lager, but with sort of ale stuff, and again tends to be darker. Obviously,
Oh,
that's
that's
with
why
the
both,
roast
because
there.
it's brewed, it's colder temperatures.
Exactly, yeah, and it's yeah, so exactly, it's sort of and I think there's a lot of too is like, is it technically a lager? Technically, it should be a lager, but so you can almost think it's in like the Doppelbock kind of family to a certain extent. But it's definitely like they were brewing with the lager yeast instead of like an ale yeast, and so there's a colder temperature in it. But I think though, at least the ones I've seen more recently, they tend to just say Baltic porter to mean this is a strong porter. So
Okay, yeah.
whether or not it was brewed in anything like a kind of historical air quotes method, or even with presumably they would have still used a lager yeast, but we'll find out. I think though it has kind of morphed to more mean sort of strong, which fair enough. But I also see like robust porters. Like again, back to Four Provinces, they have a great robust porter that's just a good strong porter that doesn't have those kind of ale or those sort of lager yeast notes to it. But I don't know. Maybe I'll definitely try the Whiplash one first because I'm like that will be good and true to style, and then I'll see what these others are like, and maybe I might judge the others a little harshly based on that. But it's hard when you got people who are doing a really good job. So
Yeah, and it's hard to be spoiled. Can I
yeah.
just say, my life is so hard. It's hard being spoiled. I've fallen in with a bad crowd, and now I'm a beer snob. I'm like, yes, the hops here are quite good. I like them. I would like to have only wonderful beer for the rest of my life now.
It's okay.
Oh,
The
I
time and
think this
place for
beer has gone a little
everything.
tired.
Well,
I'm not sure I'm into this. This is just for fish and chips now. Like, hooray, I have a roof over my head and a cushion against hardship, and you know the kitchen is sunny, and it's warm when it's
absolutely.
warm, and it's cold when it's cold, and like life is fine.
Ah,
Life
definitely.
is obviously having to watch the world implode, but I've still
We're
got a beer
all
budget,
hanging in
and
there. Yeah.
it's yeah, and it's
Well,
just nice to be talking to
exactly.
you guys.
Oh, definitely. And it's that thing too of it's what we call like an affordable luxury, right? Like it's one thing if you're spending, if you're like, oh, this beer is really great, but is it worth €8? It's like, well, not for everyone, but for most people, that's probably okay to be like, I'll splurge on it and, enjoy it at home and see how it goes. It's not like people who are really into like fancy port or something where you're talking about like a €300 or €400 bottle. It's not the same kind of outlay at least. But and again, if not that there's anything wrong with that, time and place. But although again, you were mentioning Carlsberg earlier, I do still love a Carlsberg if I'm at soccer. It's all time and place. And you have to still kind of be like, hey, they discovered yeast. That's pretty awesome. So all good. But I did think for a hot second, ooh, do I just get the 6-pack of Carlsberg because it's like literally like €4 for
Yeah.
6-pack? But I was like, no. Same thing. Like like I think you said, Bean. Did you say you got it like delivered with the food or something?
Yeah,
I think like they
it's
appear, don't
delivered
they?
with a smile.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they just appear when you aren't even looking for them. So I'm like, I don't need to buy one. It will appear at some point. Um,
yeah.
but you're
A
right.
man in a van pulls up, and you feel
Yeah.
very looked after. And
Yeah, we got it wasn't even a Carlsberg. It might have been it wasn't a Dutch Gold, but it was something else that was like a cheap lager that
Mhm.
we got accidentally delivered with some kind of food order. I'm trying to remember what it was, but at least we're like, you know what? We did try it. We're like, this is actually pretty gross, but you could cook with it or bake with it or whatever. So still found
Mm,
a use.
yeah, and even if I have like cans of porter that have actually in the can have gone a bit tired, I can throw them in a Guinness cake.
Right?
You know,
Yeah. Why not?
like waste not, want not. It's all the rage. It's very chic to be not having food waste.
Absolutely. Yeah, here, here. That totally makes sense. Well, and I wonder too, I don't know, Joanne, if you have a perspective on how maybe this has changed over the last 10 years or so, just in terms of availability and like what kinds of beer you can get for like the sort of bottom end of the market, or again, bottom end is maybe the wrong way to say it, but like something affordable, but that's still actually good. I wonder if, I feel like when I first started coming here years ago, there wasn't that much variety in terms of just getting a cheap beer. There was good beer or there was not good beer. And but you always had your Guinness, which was kind of separate, it's its own thing. But I wonder if that's changed in terms of what you can get, like in terms of cans or, just the off license.
Definitely, yeah, yeah. There's a much wider selection of like because before it was just all your Heineken, Carlsberg, Guinness,
Yeah.
Bulmers, that kind of thing. Yeah, but there's much more of it that I notice anyway. Like the stuff that I would like to drink, or kind of more reasonable price. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I could be wrong. I think they changed. There was stuff changed with taxation and laws and stuff sometime over the last 10 years. Anyway, that made that kind of possible because there were kind of limitations on how cheap things could be.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I think that did I imagine that, or did it go the opposite way? I think that happened. Somebody feel free to correct me somewhere.
Never.
I remember that happening in the UK or something broadly similar in terms of the very cheap stuff. Or I can even remember, living in the UK in the 1990s, and you could roll up to your local spoons and get something for 99p a pint, and I think they've changed some of that in terms of people who might have been doing all day drinking. But
I remember when I moved to the UK to go to university. I couldn't get over, like, we could get these bottles of students, $2.99 for like a bottle of Lambrusco or Lambrusco or whatever.
Yeah. And I finally remembered the word. It's utility, like your units of utility, your and your priorities changed. Like we were all students once.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah. And I think that was probably the mentality as well towards going for the higher ABV stuff within a cheaper price range.
Yeah.
Because at that stage I was probably drinking just to get drunk.
Right.
Yeah, you're looking for a buzz with your mates, out on the town, a little adventure. Yeah.
Well, especially knowing that you're going to run out of money. And so you got to kind of, I feel like as adults we could keep going. But, when you're like, 19, 20, you've got, €5 or £5 that you got to make last. So.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you,
hangovers weren't such a thing then either.
Oh, yeah.
For me.
Yeah. Although, perfect segue. I know we're also going to talk about hangover cures, but do people want to take a beer break first, or how are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, we could take a mini beer break.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do it. Okay, so folks, we're going to take a mini beer break, and we will be right back with you. And hello again. We are back from our beer break. So before we dive into talking about hangover cures and all of that good stuff, what are people drinking for the second round, if you like? I think, Joanne, we'll start with you this time.
So, this was little, and this is a German red ale, steam brew it's called. And so we were talking about earlier on how I used to go for the really high ABV ones, and just, a bit of nostalgia. This one is 7.9. 7.9 for under €2. So, now I've actually just seen the I'm not sure about the artwork on that.
Oh,
that's lovely.
Interesting. Huh.
It's kind of steampunk.
Yeah. Now I had a quick sip, and I have to say
it's it's a lovely color, definitely.
It is a nice color, but something I don't think I'll be buying it again.
But experimentation.
Yeah, good to know. And you're doing all of us a service.
Yes. Well, now you know exactly. They had an IPA as well, which I got also. So we'll see how. And I think that's a similar percentage. So
absolutely.
Okay, and maybe they fell victim to they ordered too much for the Christmas and didn't sell as much or something.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Who knows? Well, I'm still on the Bran and Scullin. I've still got a good bit of a glass, but I've got some backup 9th wave New World Pale Ale.
Oh, okay.
If need should arise, but I think I'll be okay for
You'll
a
be
minute.
okay. Yeah, it's stronger. So maybe I'll do a kind of a kind of contestant's choice. I have two because these cans I was surprised were the same price. I have the Franciscan Well Archway Lager, which I've never had just because I've like I said, I only need so much cheap lager in my life. Or I have the Rascals Pale Ale, which I know I love, but I was surprised that these two cans were the same price. These were both about 250, so all good. So again, the Rascals know it's great, and they have been like for an affordable, always great beer. Like those guys are churning them out, so good for them. But I kind of feel like for science, I should have the Archway just to kind of
for science.
yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. All right, so Rascals, I'll save you guys for a little bit later, but I'll have the Archway, and again, I know Franciscan Well is it Molson Coors who owns them now? I think it is.
Oh, is it? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I have heard from multiple people that the best pizza in Ireland is to be had at their brew pub, but obviously I've not had a chance to go for
They do have nice
reasons.
pizza.
Oh, well, that is like two Franciscan Well, and Rascals does a mean pizza as
that is
well. So you
true.
could nearly do like a beer and pizza off.
That is, that's
tell ya.
something in the after times we should just have a whole kind of tour around the country where we have, interesting beer and pizza. But you're right, Rascal's pizza is fantastic. The beer is great, and they're just so lovely there. And it's always nice to see them doing well. So
yeah, they're awesome. I can't wait for a pizza at Rascals outside in the sunshine.
Yeah, we got to go once during the summer in the kind of interregnum between lockdowns. But yeah, that would be really, really nice. So fingers crossed.
We did a meet up there, I think.
That's right. Yes, we had a meet up there. I couldn't go to that one because I had it was my I was getting my haircut. I remember this because we've had so few, activities that I can remember kind of every time I've left the house for anything. So that was that. But I went not long after that and just had a great pizza. And the other thing I love too is they've got some really interesting things that they just have there in the brew pub that don't get canned or shipped out. So
yeah, they have a really nice selection there.
Yeah, really good and just very, very sound and good guys. And actually, this is not bad at all. The Archway Lager, again, kind of akin to a Carlsberg, where it's not trying to do anything unusual, and that's fair enough. So, but it's certainly like fresh and clean and all
thirst
good.
quenching.
Absolutely, absolutely. So perfect for I say perfect for even though I'm like sitting in my freezing attic, it's still kind of nice to have something that's I did a long workout earlier, so it's kind of still a good we'll call it a recovery beer. How about that?
Yeah.
So, there we go.
And
again, science.
Evoking memories of a summer's day.
Right. Absolutely. So, again, we were going to talk about hangover cures. And again, it's January. People are doing dry January or damp January, depending on what people are doing. But
damp or dry-esque anyway.
I've never been super successful with either your kind of folk remedies or and again we're all adults here. We try not to get into the state where you need a hangover cure very often just because we're not all, none of us is 22. That's not gonna just not a thing. Although I will say only because I'm a runner and again do a lot of workouts, I always have a big supply of electrolyte tablets. So if I did happen to like overindulge, I could at least make myself an electrolyte drink the next day and try to like sip and recover. I do know that in back when we lived in Philly Beer Week, some of the people who were especially brewery reps who kind of had to drink a lot every night throughout what started off as a week and then became a week of 10 days and then a week of like 13 days. They would be on the Pedialyte every night just to try to kind of stay hydrated. And you're like, oh, that can't be good for you. But they're like, it's once a year. You power through. No one's driving, so you're like, okay. But I guess if it kept enough people going, fair play. But yeah, I do think the electrolytes help. Better again, we're certainly not advocating going out and binge drinking. People don't do that; it's bad. But apart from drinking lots of water, I don't know if there's anything that's particularly effective. I don't know what you guys have found.
I haven't. No, and the electrolytes that makes sense because you're dehydrated and
Right.
the water. That makes sense. But I kind of, for me, what I would do now is I just sparkling water the next day. That just seems to, but it doesn't cure. Nothing cures it. It's just yeah, it's a time thing, I think. More than anything.
Yeah, body just
it used to be,
with
a big breakfast. That was a cure, and never worked for me. I have to say.
Yeah, same. I'm trying to think back to my student days, and it would always be like, "Oh, just have the breakfast, you'll be fine." It never helped me. But
and then there's good old hair of the dog.
Right. Yeah. Also, never one that worked for me, but I don't know.
No.
I actually don't know what you mean.
There's no shame in that.
Oh, it's just basically.
Is that like a rocky raw egg, or?
No, you just start drinking again.
Oh.
Hair of the dog that bit you, yes. So you just go right back.
Recipe for success.
Absolutely.
Some people swear by it, I have to say.
Just carry on. Carry on, my wayward son.
A couple of years ago, it was a friend's wedding, I think. And we had overindulged. It was old school friends, as you do. Mm-hmm. And we met at the bar the next day, just had food and all that. And I did try have a pint, and but no, it didn't. It did nothing to Definitely
not.
See, gosh. Sparkling water makes so much sense because it kind of feels fun still. Like, I don't know, perhaps being denied anything as a child. Not really. I was well loved. But even, carbonation and water sort of makes it feel like a party.
Hey,
and so you can party on with sparkling water and feel as though this is somehow a bit special and like everyday ritual.
Yeah, and I've still had the kind of thing when if I've been traveling a lot for work, which thank goodness is not a thing that happens now. That's one of the good things about this whole situation we're in. But when I was traveling a lot for work, there would be, late nights out with colleagues, just, having to, stay up and drink as much as guys who are twice my size. And that's, or at least keep up with them, even if you're alternating. And again, guys, always alternate a water. You gotta pace yourselves. Don't go crazy. So, don't try this at home, kids. But, the thing I would need the next day is like a big like Coke Zero, because normally I don't like carbonated drinks of any kind, but I would need like the caffeine, and something about the bubbles would help.
The bubbles, isn't there?
Yeah. So it's something in there. Although I can remember too, again back long ago, sort of being a post grad, and being able to go out and drink that much and think you're okay the next day, and then kind of have a bit of a lie, and then you would feel terrible like a little bit later. I can vividly remember like having a couple of very strong teas and then being like, this was a bad idea to try to just like drink a lot of caffeine, and just made everything worse. But
yeah,
I don't know. I guess maybe too that sort of comes with age. Is you don't do that as much, but also you kind of know like don't sort of assault the stomach first thing in the morning if you're trying to return to equilibrium maybe. But I don't know. Again, I don't know how scientific it is, but it's I guess everyone kind of finds the thing that works for them, which, and again, we're going to keep saying probably the best thing is to not get into that state in the first place. But like you say, you're going to meet up with friends or go to a wedding, or in the future times, not right now, obviously, but, gotta have your strategies in place.
Yeah, someday.
Someday, absolutely. I did have a funny story once where I did go to a friend's, it was a combined sort of stag hen do, and this is when I was living in the UK. And we went paintballing during the day, which was great fun, but nobody should do this before their wedding because you were covered in bruises. Like both the bride and groom were just, just a mess. But something magical happened at the sort of, we went off and kind of did our own thing where I was trying to, help out. I would, do the thing I said I was just doing. Is like, it was all kind of, having a lot of homemade gin and tonics, but, in between each one, I would try to have a big thing of water. I would put the water down, and I would pick it up again, and it would have turned into gin. And I was like, what's happening? I didn't ask for this power. And it was, I literally have no memory of like pouring anything in. It happened like 4 or 5 times. I was like, "What's happened? Will this be forever? Am I like King Midas now?" And I just like turned everything to alcohol, and it, in my brain at the time, that totally made sense that this was just like a legit thing that has happened. But luckily things reverted to normal in the morning, and I actually felt fine because somehow I was able to still get water, I guess, in. And the bride, unfortunately, though, was not not in a good way. She had one of those kind of 3-day hangovers.
Oh.
And I worried. I was like, did I do this to her? Is it my fault? I was like, actually, no, 'cause she also like picked up the glass. And
I feel like that just happened.
it did. It was just one of those things that you look back on, you're like, we were granted powers we don't normally have. We don't question it. It's just
I bet
the
St.
thing.
Bridget said the same thing.
Yes, well, that's a good
I will
shout
be
out.
done.
Yes, future episodes we will be talking about St. Bridget. We've got a lot of good stuff that's going to come up for you guys this year. So there will be a dry January episode coming up. So there's a lot in store. That was good. Good job, Bean. You're doing good plugging of future episodes without even thinking about it. You're a natural.
I just like to spoil.
No,
A natural
it's
spoiler.
preparation. It's preparation. It's not spoiling. That's brilliant.
And you're really gonna thank me in a minute when I suggest that perhaps after the after the units of pleasure and utility have been consumed, and some of us wake up and realize that we're not 26 and we can't just like pass out kind of backwards on the coffee table, wake up and run a marathon. We have to take care of ourselves. And also this may include more things than just like going into the digestive system. Eventually you're going to have to deal with more of your gut. And for this, Dr. Bean recommends. Hashtag not a doctor. This is not medical advice or
Of course.
opinion.
Disclaimer. Yeah.
Disclaimer. So, I have been enjoying some beet juice for the multivitamins because I figure it's good for you. Also, seaweed. Not a joke. I hope Joanne's going to agree with me on this one because I think it's got some micronutrients for you.
B vitamins or something like that.
Because I feel like the whole having to deal with the alcohol poisoning kind of leaches a few vitamins and minerals out of your system, just trying to keep you alive for the night. After one can, but still, when you're old, and like when you're young too, you got to be nice to yourself, even if you're just a bright young thing.
Well,
no, we're not old,
Exactly.
I know. We're in the prime of our lives.
But what's the Leonard Cohen line? We met when we were almost young. So I think that's
old
can
enough
all
to know
be
better, young
almost
enough
young.
to do it anyway. Yeah.
And it's a funny thing too, because I can recall it's not even that long ago, but when I was still working in Seattle and having to deal with Silicon Valley types, guys who would kind of fly back and forth. Like you would get these, young guys kind of in their, mid-20s maybe, who would, drink a ton and then go to like the IV rehydration clinic. And you're like, if you're doing that though, like, like at that point, you're not just like having a few casual drinks. Like you're really working at that. And I think that the guys would always be like, oh, but you can also get, all these other good things, infused too. And you're like, but you have to stick a needle in you for fun. That's not a thing. Like, we all want to get vaccines. I don't want an IV for any reason. Like they're the worst. So like, if you're drinking so much you have to get an IV, like maybe rethink what you're doing. But that would be kind of a regular thing for some guys. And some of these places would be like set up as, kind of near bars and stuff, where people could like of a weekend just avail themselves of the service. And I always wondered how that was licensed too, and like how they insured it and stuff. Because you're just like, well, who works in these? Because I don't think they're necessarily physicians or nurses or who's doing this. So just I had a lot of questions.
I don't know, but that really speaks to like the social pressures of the whole world
Yeah. Oh,
Like that, just
definitely.
that world is what I mean.
Definitely. And I know they've tried to do better to sort of, especially kind of like for networking events, say like either have them not in a bar or have them, where people don't feel like there is pressure to drink no matter what environment they're in. But I don't know how successful it's been. I'll say definitely like my whole career working in tech has been very like, anyone who wasn't drinking, people kind of look at them and be like, oh, something must be wrong, or just or there would be that kind of that sort of suspicion, or whatever, just things that you didn't need to be like people can drink or not drink up to them, but there would be that kind of y- you know the very sort of in group out group kind of thing, and it's not healthy.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I do remember stories when I was training of older colleagues. Um, they would have had a heavy night, and perhaps they would give each other bags of whatever fluid,
gosh.
banana bags, I believe they were called. Yeah, it wasn't unheard of. I don't think it's something that would happen now. It's not something I've seen since I moved
Right.
home anyway. But yeah,
Ah,
back in the day.
the good old days.
Yeah. Although that's back in the
Only.
day when you used to be able to stay to the hospitals and
Well,
all
yeah.
that kind of thing. So,
Indeed.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I do wonder how those kind of things are gonna keep going. But that's the same thing too, where you could also get your sort of they had those kind of infusion clinics, but like for fun infusion clinics, not like for people who need like actual medication. But they also had the oxygen bars too. I can remember even seeing those in airports, and you're like, come on, really?
Well, I mean, I'm not. I've never oxygen barred. I'm not too goopy, but uh, I have gone sea swimming, and it sure
Well,
does make you breathe.
I could see that.
Man, oh man, what a wake up! If you want to go for a little polar swim, I bet I bet a lot of people actually in our group have maybe done this or tried this or are soon to try this. Like, oh man, if you weren't either concentrating on your not like when you initially you kind of have to concentrate on your breathing because that's all you have concentration
Right.
for. And if you had any problems with oxygen intake, you would know about them soon enough.
Good. I'm trying to look it up now because I had these things advertised as Hangover Drops. They're really like just a very fancy, like high end candy, but it was really good. And they did actually kind of trying to see who makes them now, because again, speaking of sort of fancy
Is
things,
it Ricola?
got them like at the
Those are
Centra
tasty
or
too.
something, but it was not a
Kind of
Ricola. Although,
no, they're not throat drops. Those were kind of candylicious.
well, if you go to Switzerland, they give them to you like on your pillow as like in lieu of a chocolate. And I was like, great, to me it's a cough drop. Okay, thanks. But it's the
They
same
were
thing.
oh,
I
those
bet they
with
were
cola.
tasty.
Yeah.
Oh, pardon me. Yes, that's my accent.
Ricola. Oh, is it who made
Yeah,
these?
because they had a few different flavors like lemon and
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I
We
can't
don't
vanilla.
do
find.
them every so often, actually. Oh no, they do similar ones. They do a little.
I'll have to look these up because they're very fancy, but they're delicious. They're basically sort of peppermints, so things that would genuinely like help settle an unhappy stomach. So I think it may have licorice, something else in there as well. But they're actually really, really nice. And I've been kind of having one just like at the end of the day as a kind of like, oh, I'm done eating. I'm gonna have this before I like go brush my teeth, and just like a nice kind of
Okay.
way to
Is
kind
it
of
kind of seltzery, pepsin-y?
it's a little purple sort of boiled sweet kind of hard candy. I'm gonna have to again look up who makes them
Okay,
'cause they
yeah.
were very expensive. So we'll put it in the we'll put it in the
Must be
show
good.
notes. I'll look it up. Yeah, but it was one of those things you're like, oh, this is surprisingly good. And whether or not it's an actual hangover cure, it would certainly help to some extent settle an unhappy stomach. So it's at least worth the price of admission if you like for that, and it tastes good. So yeah, but no, I think we are wrapping up. So I think we'll. I don't know. Do we have a verdict on kind of or an approach we want to recommend for when you're trying to save a little money but still get some good beer?
I forgot to say mini kegs.
Mini kegs. That's a good idea too.
Maybe
Yeah.
not The personal mini keg.
Yeah. Because you have to kind of drink them.
Recommended for 26-year-olds only.
Right. Yes, absolutely. But if you have someone else in your household who can help you with the mini keg, that's a
Yes,
good
if
idea.
you have housemates.
Yes,
and you're all
absolutely.
in it together.
Yeah. So mini keg, hit your off license when they're having a sale, maybe after a holiday, or again, just see what's kind of not too dusty at your local supermarket or local convenience store. I think there's actually a lot of pretty good stuff out there you can get for certainly not just under a tenner, but you can also, like we were saying too, invest in kind of getting either your beer club to deliver or get a subscription box. So lots of good choices out there. I think we are kind of spoiled for choice. So I think that is all very good. So I wanted to say thank you to Joanne and thank you to Bean. I think this has been a lot of fun, and it's just good to see other people's faces who don't live in my house. So, yay.
True story.
True story, absolutely. And thank you all, lovely listeners. We're excited to bring a lot more to you in 2021. Like and subscribe, Beer Ladies Pod on all the socials and all the places you get your podcast. We're really excited to be bringing you more chat about beer and all kinds of I would say meanderings and perambulations around beer coming up in 2021. Also to look forward to in January, coming very soon. We've got the dry January to chat about, non-alcoholic beer, low alcoholic beer, and we'll be chatting St. Bridget, all kinds of other good stuff as we bring you through the dark times into hopefully the time when we are all getting ourselves vaccinated like Joanne. So fingers crossed we can all be together at some point in the future times. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.
Baltic like a porter.
Baltic like a porter. Oh, that was good. You brought it back. I like that.